Good evening, everybody. How are you?
Great.
Great. Okay, as you know, today we have a double matinee, so to speak. We have a outstanding VIP alumna with us, and the first part of what we're going to do, I'm going to introduce her. She's going to talk a little bit about her time at FIU. She graduated from FIU, what made her interested in law, and then how she became a judge, and so on. And then after that, she will take off her judge's robe, and then she will actually lecture for the class, and she has very great cases for you. You will enjoy that. Okay, so this is the official one. Sylvia Medina Shore has been a judge of compensation claims in the state of Florida since March of 2000. She was one of the youngest judges ever to be appointed to the bench. And then since her initial appointment as a judge, she has been reappointed by 3 different governors of the state of Florida. Judge Medina Shore adjudicates workers' comp cases in Miami-Dade County. Previously, she was in private practice as a lawyer for approximately 10 years, specializing in workers' compensation cases representing injured workers and employer carriers. In addition to her undertaking her judicial functions, besides being a mom of 2 teenagers and a wife, etc., Judge Medina Shore was appointed administrative judge of the Miami Office of Judges of Compensation Claims in March of 2006. That means she's in charge of the whole office. As administrative judge, she is responsible for the daily operations of the Miami office building, including but not limited to the management of the staff, the other judges, and the physical facilities. Judge Medina Shore has lectured at continuing legal education seminars for the Dade County Bar Association and Florida Bar Workers Compensation Section. She has lectured at FIU, at Florida Atlantic University, and she continues, because she loves doing that, she continues to educate middle and high school students in Miami-Dade County Public Schools regarding the judicial role in our government and the different career options within the legal system. In her spare time, you have that?
Very little.
Judge Medina Shore enjoys reading, traveling, and spending time with her family. It's my pleasure to introduce to you the Honorable Judge Medina Shore.
Thank you. What a beautiful introduction. Okay. Well, let's see. I graduated I went to public school through all elementary and middle and high school, and I had the good fortune of having an excellent professor at home that made sure that I was up to par in all my studies and everything. And so motivation was there, everything was there. And when it was time to go to college, Florida International University at that point in time was much smaller than it is today. But it was an upcoming university. It was very good. And I'm very fortunate to have had to be accepted into the International Relations program. And there I studied, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was not too certain. I really liked international relations. I liked political science. I love philosophy. And I had an education background through my family, very strong education background. So I was interested in that too. And so FIU allowed me to explore my options fully, and it also allowed me to take courses that I knew I did not want to practice ever in my life again. So, but very valuable too, because now taking those courses, I appreciate what other people do in those sectors. So, very valuable education in FIU. I became very involved also with the student body and was a peer counselor and so forth. So it was a much smaller community then. Now you have a much bigger community here. Very nice to see all the buildings and all the different areas that FIU has to offer. Back then it was limited to like 5 buildings, I believe, and it was very easy to walk around. Now it's not so much, but I'm pleased to see that the university is doing so well. And I went ahead and I finished my international relations degree, and I also sat for and passed the certification in teaching, and was certified teacher in middle school and high schools for history and social studies and so forth. And I did a little bit of an internship in that in a middle school. So I was very interested in many things, did not know where I was going to end up. And lo and behold, my last semester, my last semester in FIU, what did I take? I took constitutional law. And boy, did I love that class. It was just a great class for me. It clicked for me. And I thought, boy, I think this is the path that I wanted to go. I love teaching. It was very rewarding, and I did that for a little bit. But I thought I really think this is a path for me. So FIU allowed me to take all these different courses and all these different also all these other different activities outside the school, where they had, for example, I went one summer to France, and I studied French, and there was a program with the FIU, and it was a very excellent program where you not only learn the language but the culture and everything that goes along with it. So it had a lot to offer, and graduating FIU, then I went to Stetson University College of Law in St. Petersburg, Florida, which is one of the premier law schools in Florida, of course. A lot of good law schools here. And at that time, FIU did not have a law school. That's right. At that time, FIU did not have a law school. So my choices were, at that point in time, University of Miami, all the other big law schools that have been around for a very long time. So I decided to go to Stetson, and there I graduated. And it was very difficult because it was a lot of attorneys, a lot of students, a lot of attorneys looking for jobs and so forth. So I clerked for a while, and I got some experience that I needed and so forth, and I landed just by accident in a law firm that handles solely workers' compensation accidents. Workers' compensation, any accident that occurs at work. And if you think about that, how many places there are to work? Everywhere. People usually think of work, everything on the land, right? You have schools and restaurants and hospitals and fire stations and anything that you go to on land. Well, you also have work in the air. You have pilots, and you have stewardesses, and you have all these things, and you have work in the seas. You have cruise ships, and then you have military, and all these jobs. Accidents occur, and it's a very specialized area of law, just like other areas that you might think of, like maybe bankruptcy or anything like that. That's very specialized. So I landed in this firm, and again, it was one of these things where you either really like it or you don't, because it's very specialized. And I loved it, and I loved it, and I love it until today. I loved it. I had very good experience. Worked in small firms, large firms, a lot of litigation. As one of the attorneys, one of the senior attorneys litigating complex cases and so forth, and then the judgeship became open when a seat became open, and so I decided that I wanted to go for it. I didn't think I was going to get it because I was so young. I was 35 years of age, and ordinarily, there's some requirements which I met and surpassed the requirements to be a workers' compensation judge. But ordinarily, more seasoned attorneys, you usually were appointed. And as a workers' compensation judge, or if you're going to be a workers' compensation judge, you have to apply. You have to be interviewed by a committee of 15 people. It's called a Judicial Nominating Committee. They pick 3 people, and those 3 people go and interview with the governor of the state of Florida. And the governor chooses one person for that position. And every 4 years, I go up for a reappointment. And it's the same thing, except now I just go out on my merits, on my record. I'm not. When a position becomes vacant, you might have other applicants that go up against you. When I'm up for reappointment, I go up for myself on my record, and then the governor decides whether the JNC nominates and the governor decides whether to reappoint or not. So I was very young, and usually it takes several tries, to do that, and that's okay. I was ready for that. This is something that I thought that I could do, and I wanted to do, and I was well prepared. I was well prepared partly because of my training and my schooling here at FIU, and of course in my law school. But FIU really gave me a very a very broad, expansive experience, and in thinking, and not thinking outside the box. And this is what they wanted to see. They wanted to see people, they wanted to see that you knew the law, they wanted to see that you had a great demeanor, and that you would be fair and impartial, but they wanted to see people that also thought outside the box, that could be efficient and expeditious. And of course, we have new technology. We have, in my office, we have 3 VTC, video telephone conferencing offices, where we hold VTC hearings. So they want candidates, they want people that think outside the box. You need universities to help students do that, okay? And so I felt that in my schooling here at FIU, my schooling in my law school, and my experience, that I would be a good candidate. And so I applied, and fortunately I was very, very lucky, very, very lucky. I was chosen for that. And so the judges of compensation claims, I'm one of them. There's 32 in the state of Florida. There's 17 offices. The biggest office is in Miami. We have statewide jurisdiction, which means I can try a case here in Miami, or I can try a case in Pensacola, or I can try a case in Orlando or in Tampa. Not in Georgia, only in the state of Florida, okay? But ordinarily we have 17 offices, okay? So cases where accidents occur in Miami, which Miami is one of the biggest counties, usually are adjudicated by the judges in Miami. Miami office is the largest office in the state of Florida. We have 5 judges there. We have 6 in total, 5 judges there in our premises, and 1 via VTC, meaning there's 6 judges trying Miami venue cases, more than any other district in the state of Florida. The next largest would be 3 judges. So it's a very busy office. We have a lot of staff, and we have security guards and so forth, and I love it. It is a great career. It is, for me, it is very fulfilling, because I get the pleasure to go to work and to hear from people of all cultures, of all races, all experience, and to learn about our community, and to learn what we do in our community. And that is anywhere from construction to schools to restaurants to, anything that you can think of that we have in Miami. Cruises, we have everything. We have, we have theater. We have whatever you can think of that you go to, doctor's offices, whatever you can think of. There's going to be somebody working there, right? There's going to be somebody working there. There might be an accident. There needs to be an accident so I can have a job. So let's get that. That's a very important thing, okay? We don't like it's very bad. It's very bad, but that's what we do. We adjudicate workers' compensation accident. And like I said, I feel very fortunate because we have very good people. We have, I think, one of the best communities here in Miami. We have a lot of people that are hard workers, that contribute a lot, and we have employers, we have injured workers, we have insurance carriers, adjusters that work very hard, and all of us, the attorneys in our system, also work very hard. All of us try to adjudicate these cases and get them to the part where they can either be resolved, the issues can be resolved, or they can settle out, and that person can go on with their lives so they can be productive members of society and be happy. And that's what we want. We want everybody to be happy, to be as productive as they want to be in the community. So I'm very lucky. And I thank God, and I thank my mother, and I thank my family, my rest of my family, because I was given the opportunity very early on in my life to do what I want to do. And so I'm very happy doing this. And I owe it to institutions like this, like FIU, and like my law school, because they gave me the opportunity to grow. And I see that the university is giving that opportunity to you, and I see that the university is growing because everybody here is growing, and I am so pleased to see that. So if there are any questions or anything that anybody has?
Your office, where is it located?
Our offices are in downtown Miami, right in front of the City of Miami Police Department. There's a state building, there's twin towers. We are part of the state of Florida, okay? So we are in there. It's about 3 blocks away from the Dade County courthouse, okay? We're on the 9th floor, and we take up the entire floor of one of the towers. Any other questions?
How long do you usually work on a daily basis?
Well, let's see. Because I'm the administrative judge, I want to make certain that I'm there, that everything runs smoothly. So I'm there pretty much, early in the morning, between 7:30. Depending on what day it is, 7:30. Sometimes if I have something, I have, like Professor Goonan said here, I have 2 kids, 2 boys, and if I have something to do with them in the morning, then I'm in a little bit later. Usually I have calendar till 5, and then after 5 I stay after calendar so I can do my work, which is doing all the mail, all the correspondence, all the motions, and also writing orders. So that means that I'm usually at work until 6:30. At that point in time I pack up my bags, and what I do is I take home deposition. And a deposition is just a statement. It's a formal statement that is taken of witnesses. It could be usually of a doctor or of another witness. And I'll take that home with me, and I'll cook dinner and do homework, a lot of homework with my sons. And after we finish making sure that the homework is completed and done and so forth, I may read a deposition and make notes and so forth. Because all the judges' compensation claims, when we hold trials, we don't have a jury. We are the jury and we are the judge. So we write our own orders and we rule on the case. And so therefore it is a lot of work. The workers' compensation is very different from what you may be thinking of the legal practice, or what you may see on TV, right? What usually you see on TV is a jury and a judge sitting elevated, and they're making objections and all these things, and then of course a jury comes out with a verdict and that's it. Well, workers' compensation, that's not the case. We don't have that, and we have injured workers that can't wait a year, can't wait 9 months, they can't wait 3 months for a jury to get to rule on whether they are owed past benefits, because they need to eat, they need to feed their families and so forth. So what happens is it's a different system. So it comes before the judge on an expedited basis, okay? And we have certain timelines that we have to try these cases, and we have certain timelines to issue our orders. And this is all done because we try to resolve these disputes efficiently so that these injured workers can make a living and can feed their families and can get medical treatment as soon as possible, right? Because if you wait for a jury to get medical treatment, I mean, it may be too late by that time. So it's very important that things go rather smoothly in workers' compensation as much as possible, and giving people what is called due process, their right to be heard. Okay? So you have to balance that always. You have to balance efficiency with due process. And that's where the innovation comes in. That's where I say that it's very important, not only in law school, but it's very important what college you go to and what and the more classes and the different classes that you take, I think my personal opinion is really the best thing you can do, because it opens up your mind. It really gives you a different perspective in trying to resolve an issue. Okay, so that's why in workers' compensation we don't have juries or anything like that, because we need to go ahead and do that on a fast, expedited basis.
I'm just curious. Did you ever find it hard to juggle being a wife and a mother and being a judge? Because nowadays you always hear about women having it all and the book lean in and whatnot. And so I'm just curious, did you ever feel pressure, or were you able to pretty much
Every day, pretty much every day since I was born. Yeah, no. No. Every day is hard. Every day is very difficult to juggle. I think that you have to, if you have a spouse, you have to even be more committed to work as a team. Because if you don't, it just becomes too much for one person. We're both professionals, and we work as a team. So if I have to stay late, and I know what my calendar is, and ahead of time, then my husband knows that he has to pick up the slack, and he has to, be there for the kids and so forth. And I think also when the kids are younger, it's a little bit tougher because they need more hands-on, care and supervision. Now, they're 16, 13, they're a little bit more independent. They're a lot more independent in reference to their studies. I think they need more care and supervision now than ever, but that's beside the point, okay? But in reference to the actual, they're pretty good they're independent in reference to the work that needs to be done and so forth. So the pressure eases up a little bit in that aspect. And then, of course, the pressure then comes back when it starts to, now we're the 16-year-old, college-bound, SATs, ACTs, and so forth. And what every parent goes through, we go through. Except this is our job, and when I go to work, I have to put those worries aside because I have to deal with these worries of these people. So I'm dealing with those worries of those people as best as I can and put these worries aside until I get home. And then I do that. So yes, it's a struggle every day, but is it worth it? Yes, it's worth it.
Have you ever regretted a decision that you've made as a judge, whether granting someone that workers' comp or not?
Well, and just like any other law, any other part of law, including workers' compensation, a judge is bound by the law. We do not write the law. The judges do not write the law. Okay, the legislature writes the law. Okay, we don't enforce it. Okay, we just interpret it. Okay, and interpreting the law, what we do is we try to apply the facts to the law. Okay, we look at the facts that we have and we try to make a best decision, but we must follow the law. Many times, the law evolves as time goes on. The law 20 years ago is not the same as it was today. There are things that exist today that did not exist 20 years ago. Technology has leap and bounds. So the law evolves. So many occasions, many judges are faced with applying a law to the facts of a case and are very, very distraught in doing that because it is very difficult as a human being. We're human beings. We have feelings. We have, and the end result is going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough. But our job is just that. Our job is to apply the law and not change it. If we believe that it needs to be changed, perhaps the judge or the judges of an appellate court may put something in the order that perhaps this is a matter of the legislature to consider. But it is not the judge's role to do that. So there have been many occasions where I've entered orders that I have felt that perhaps the results were not something that I very happy about. But I must enter the order and I must apply the law because that's my job. I'm sorry, go ahead.
As a lawyer, do you have to get more schooling for specializing in a particular field, or you just get hands-on training?
Well, when you go to law school, you know, it's in general, you have your general classes like you have here in college. You know, you have your contracts and you have your property and you have your constitutional law, you have your class. You're able to, once you get to the third year, you're able to take some courses if criminal law, for example, interests you, you're able to take some extra courses depending on what your school offers, okay? There's also, they have clinics where you can go. For example, I did the public defender clinic. I was involved with public defender clinics up there. I was interested in criminal law for a while. So I partook in that, and that's hands-on experience under an attorney, always supervised by an attorney and so forth. But that's very valuable experience because, it opens up the past and allows you to see what you want to do and what you don't want to do. Okay? So that is in that case. In workers' compensation, really, it's the experience. You need to go into the experience. You need to go. There are you can sit for a board certification test, and you can be board certified in workers' compensation. But you have to have certain criteria to do that. To have that criteria, you have to have experience. So in this case, you have to actually. You actually have to work as an attorney in workers' compensation because the experience is mandatory. It's invaluable. There's no way around it.
Just curious about the appeals process. If it were to go to appeal, what judge? I mean, where does it go? Who handles that? What happens?
Right. Well, workers' compensation again is kind of a specialized field. And what occurred, and this is part of the course here that we're starting, is that there was a deal made in workers, and I term it as a deal, as saying, I don't know that if you've studied torts yet or not, but okay, next chapter you're going to be introduced to torts. Okay, you're going to be introduced to torts. Okay, and you're going to be studying a lot about the court system, the appellate courts, and you're going to be studying about all the different types of torts, okay, and negligence and comparative negligence and so forth, and so there's a lot of things. And as you probably heard and see on TV and so forth, how these people, I was paid $10 million, all the ads, pain and suffering, all this stuff, doesn't happen in comp. Okay, that doesn't happen in comp. Why? Because again, think about it. We get these people that are injured, that need medical services, that need they have wage loss, they need some money to go through while they're getting their medicals and so forth, and they need it now. They don't need it in a year, they don't need it in 2 years, and so forth. So this is a very efficient system. So what happened? They made a deal. They said, okay, employers, if you are willing to pay and to be paying within a statutory guidelines, okay, a maximum of medical benefits and wage loss benefits and so forth. If you agree to pay during that period of time, and you can litigate it, you can still have disputes and have courts and judges, thank God, okay? And if you can do that during that time period and not wait for a jury trial in a year and so forth, if you agree to that, we'll give you immunity. The injured worker cannot sue you outside in circuit court and cannot sue you for pain and suffering. We're going to make this a no-fault system. You've heard about that, right? No fault. Okay. So we're going to make this a no-fault system. Okay? So in return for employer getting the immunity, okay, and knowing that you're going to be paying maximum X amount of dollars for wage loss and so forth, the injured worker then in return gets paid during all this time period. hopefully, gets paid during all this time period, receives medical treatment during this time period. Doesn't have to wait the year to get to the jury trial. So that's a deal that they made. Another deal that they made was, well, you know what? It's really cumbersome to get a case in Miami, and that would be appealed to the 3rd DCA, and then a case in Broward, and that would be appealed to another DCA, and we would be getting so many conflicting opinions on this. Why don't we do this in one court? The First District Court of Appeals in Tallahassee. So all our decisions, my decisions, all the decisions of the judges of compensation claims, are all appealed to one appellate court, which is the First District Court of Appeals in Tallahassee. Those decisions can then be appealed directly to the Florida Supreme Court. The Florida Supreme Court, it determines, has discretion to accept the appeal or not. Okay? All right? So this is something different. You'll learn when you get to the next chapter that doesn't occur ordinarily outside of this. But in compensation, again, because think about it, these are people that are working, that may not be able to work for a little bit, that need the money now, that need the medical treatment now, that need all this stuff now. All these decisions have to be done as soon as possible. So what does this do? If you appeal to one appellate court, you're going to avoid a lot of these conflicts between appellate courts, which you're going to be studying. Which I'm sure you're going to be.
Yes, so they're already in the appendix, yeah.
Okay. So you're going to get all these conflicts, right? It's going to avoid that. You're going to have one appellate court. Okay, one decision, one appellate court. Okay? A good question.
Kind of to piggyback off that question though, so if it's a tort, like if it's a civil wrong and
Yes.
the employer does not feel as if they are liable, but then kind of following that no fault, like how does that work? Do they say, if they evaluate the situation, like, okay, well, we didn't cause this, this injury or whatever the case may be, it was due to, the plaintiff or the client, could they not go and pay out even though they're under the no fault clause? Or
Okay, let's explain this. Let's go over that. Because I'm going to give you a case that's very good. I have an outline that is very good and so forth, but I think I might start off with a case that I discussed previously with Professor Goonan. Is a good case. Workers' compensation is no fault. No fault means there's really, if the worker is not very smart, let's say. I'm just using an example. Let's say that you're supposed, forgot to put on the hard hat or whatever, there's some fault in the worker. And he has an accident. It's not totally his fault. It's just accidents occur, okay? And it's not, it's not necessarily his fault, but he's not the brightest person. He could have, kind of not worn sunglasses and, done all these things to prevent it. Doesn't matter, okay? Doesn't matter. It's no fault. So it's going to be in the workers' compensation system. The only time that is not going to be in the workers' compensation system is which will breach the immunity that the employer has, okay, is if there's an intentional tort. Intentional means a gross negligence, intentional on the employer carrier that they knew. Let's say that it's a construction worker and they knew that this machine was broken, and not only did they know that, they knew that it was so dangerous that it could cause an injury and so forth, and they didn't fix it. The employer didn't fix it. If you can prove gross negligence or an intentional tort, you can try to pierce that immunity and go to the circuit court.
In addition to.
No, you cannot, in lieu of workers' compensation. It's called exclusive remedy. You cannot go into workers' comp. You cannot go under there. Now, with the exception of, let's say you're driving, you're working, and it entails driving. You get in a motor vehicle accident, right? You get PIP, right? You get personal injury. So you sue a PIP carrier, and you're working. You sue the workers' comp carrier. What happens? If the workers' comp carrier pays, they're going to file a lien against those monies paid by the PIP. Okay? That's really one of the exceptions. Okay? But outside of that, we, the workers' compensation judges, have what is called exclusive jurisdiction. Okay? And boy, do people try to get out of the comp system, because it's not very profitable. It's not very, the statutory guidelines, what they pay out and so forth, they could get a lot more from a jury because it adds on pain and suffering. It adds on so many things that are not available in comp, that people try to pierce that immunity all the time, and they try to go to circuit court. And now, of course, those cases then are reviewed, and then, of course, to see whether in fact they belong in circuit court or they belong with the comp judges. Okay? But other than that, it's pretty much the injured worker is relegated to the workers' compensation system, as is the employer. As is the employer and the carrier. They're relegated to the comp system.
Is that a common thing in the country, or is that a Florida situation?
Very good question. Each state has their own workers' compensation system. Workers' compensation system is a statutory creature. What does that mean? That means that our law is written by the legislature. And every time the legislature changes their mind, the law changes. So, the first thing that we judges, or that any attorney, any smart attorney will ask is, what's the date of the accident? Because that is the key question, because that will tell you what law applies. Because the law changes practically every year, but there's major changes practically every 2 to 4 years in comp and workers' compensation. So it's a creature of statute. Each state has their own comp system, and each state is different. Every year, the workers' compensation judges around the United States, for the most majority of the states, gather. We all gather in Orlando. It was called the National Association Judiciary College. And we all discuss the comp systems in our states and what is going on in our states and so forth. And so we learn from one another. It's very different from Florida to Georgia to Texas to California to New York. Extremely different, the comp law.
Just a basic question on, I look at the California system and higher ed system, I think they have a good system, and New York has something interesting too. Is there a state that you look at and say, man, they got it right over there, and we should look at that? Or do you think we nailed it in Florida? I don't know.
That's a very good question. I think, it's a hybrid because in compensation, in Florida, the Florida Evidence Code applies. Florida Evidence Code is a rules. They're a code that the attorneys must learn in order to be able to admit evidence in front of a judge or a jury. Okay, and it's very formal. And those are the objections you hear, by the way. Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. Objection, Your Honor. He didn't lay the proper predicate. These other objections, like objection, that is so ridiculous. That's not in the comp code. Okay, that's not in the evidence code. Ridiculous is not in the evidence code. But those type of evidence you hear in the TV, that's in the evidence code. Okay, and so there has to be certain reliability when you're going to introduce a document to a jury, or when you're going to introduce a document to a judge. In my case, it would be me. Okay, there has to be reliability when it comes to that document. The same thing for testimony. When their testimony comes before me, there has to be reliability in that testimony. They can challenge your reliability on many, many ways. And they can try to get that document in and try to get it not in, okay? Try to challenge it based on what is called the Florida Evidence Code. It truly is something that there's one course in law school, but that it is taught in each and every course because it is so vital in litigation and trial. Okay, so it is something that it needs to be taught, and it's something that attorneys it's not something that easily can be, learned by lay persons. You need to really, it's not just one class. You really need to go learn it on several classes, and actually they have mock trials and so forth so that you can practice that. So in Florida, that applies. What happens? If you're represented by an attorney, that's fine, because the attorney hopefully knows the Florida Evidence Code. Absolutely, okay? And they do. But if you're not represented by an attorney, you're appearing what's called pro se, and that could be the injured worker, it could be the employer, by the way. They don't know. They could have a smoking gun here. They could have the answer to what I need to see in this piece of paper. And I will not be able to consider that unless it comply with the evidence code or there's an objection. So it's I think that in workers' compensation, it doesn't, that is a little bit difficult when it comes to those type of cases where other states don't have that. In workers' compensation in Florida, you need to get medical records. The evidence code applies. You need to take the deposition. You need to make sure that it's authentic. You need to make sure all these things. In other states, you just file the medical records. So it's a much more lenient system than in Florida. Is it right or wrong? I can't tell you. I mean, it's a disadvantage when you're not represented. But when you are represented, at least it puts you in an even playing field. So there's advocates for both sides. There's some states that do it and some states that don't. And we're one of the states in Florida that require that.
Okay, so she's got some, I'm sorry. The part that, I think this,
Yes.
yeah, so she's got some really interesting cases that we're going to do. So and the taping people have to go home. So thank you very much. I wanted to end this part by thanking you so much you make me very proud, not just as a mom, but also as an FIU grad myself. Because we all love, this is our university, we all love it, and this is the product we have. So I'm very proud, and thank you so much for spending the time with us. So
My
thank
pleasure.
you very much, Andres, for the taping.